Flowers while you're living, flowers while you're living, flowers while you're living, flowers while you're living, living, flowers while you're living, flowers while you're living, flowers while you're living, 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 living. You don't need to wait till you're underground. You need to receive them here and now. Flowers while you're living, flowers while you're living. Hello and welcome to Flowers While You're Living. I'm your host, Cheryl Thomas. And today my guest is David Webb, CEO of the FunkCenter. But first, let's take a look at his bio.
Several years ago, David R. Webb and others decided to find a way to highlight Dayton's history of the funk music genre and to honor the legacy of funk music. The challenge was to gather this local music history and preserve it in a museum that would become a Hall of Fame, exhibition center, performance venue, and educational outreach for today's young students. They knew they couldn't do it alone, so they began bringing supporters of the project together. Webb, who is now spearheading the development of the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center, aka the FunkCenter, as its president and CEO, has many interests, but none greater than music. Specifically, Webb has a great interest in this style of music, perfected by musicians in his hometown of Dayton, Ohio, during the 1960s and 1970s. In the music industry, Webb has worked as a keyboardist and drummer at a recording studio, as well as a production manager and music talent scout. In talking with Dayton area funk musicians, he learned their stories and how Dayton had been the cradle for funk. He was intrigued when the musicians told him their history was being lost. Today's young people, Webb found, are unaware of Dayton's special place in the history of funk. He would soon learn that the history of funk was not represented in existing music museums as a separate genre. Under Webb's leadership, a dedicated team is now in place to make the FunkCenter a reality. A committed group of talented volunteers have come together, bringing their talents and extensive professional skills, and established a non-profit organization, the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center. Many have asked the question, why isn't the Funk Music Hall of Fame located in Dayton, Ohio? This question is easily answered when you consider the wealth of exemplary funk musicians who call Dayton their home. They include chart-topping bands such as the Ohio Players, Slave, Roger Troutman and the Human Body, Zap, Heatwave, Lakeside, Phase O, Shirley Murdoch, Van Hunt, Dayton, Sun, The Majestics, Overnight Low, New Horizons, Aura DJ, and Junie Morrison, just to name a few. Any omissions are purely accidental. Besides well-known funk stars, Ohio has produced other stellar performers, including Vesta, the Isley Brothers, Bootsy Collins, the O'Jays, The Deal, Cab Calloway, House Guests, The Pacemakers, the Dazz Band, and the incomparable Nancy Wilson. The organization believes that in addition to honoring the history of funk music, music education for future generations may be the FunkCenter's most important mission, one that will create a special legacy for the community. The FunkCenter will strive to provide a unique environment for all, including a special focus for children of all ages, abilities, and experience to allow them freedom to imagine, create, and introduce the arts into their lives. Webb said, the FunkCenter's mission will be to teach young people to play instruments, to understand what it takes to work in all aspects of the performing arts. They will learn what role music plays in creativity, critical thinking skills, and self-discipline. as well as improving their deductive reasoning skills in reading, math, and science, all of which are critical in helping students face the challenges life presents as they approach adulthood.
Wow. Your bio has a lot of information in there. It talks about a lot of people from Dayton, as far as the funk is concerned, and Dayton's music and history. What made you want to do that, pull up the Dayton history and music?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show, Cheryl. This is a great honor to be on your show. Like I said, coming up as a young man, as a young kid, coming up and watching musicians play in church and listening to street musicians and marching bands, you know, I wanted to make sure the history of funk music is being told the correct way in Dayton, Ohio. As you know, Dayton, Ohio is the funk capital of the world, meaning so many groups came out of Dayton per capita. So many groups who made it successful, left Dayton, still came back and still gave to the community. So this is my goal and mission, to make sure Dayton is recognized in the music industry.
Okay, okay. So now we're also known as the Gem City.
Yes, yes.
And you had said that, in other words, funk is the brightest treasure.
That's correct.
So could you explain that?
Well, you know, is the Gem City is a diamond. It shines.
Okay.
It shines and it glistens around. So Dayton is known as the Gem City. It's the gem because, you know, diamonds are hard. And the funk music out of Dayton, Ohio, is hard driving funk music, and it shines over the world. That's why I always call it the Gem City of funk, or the diamond of funk music.
Okay, okay. So now you began your radio career in 1989.
Yes.
Doing character voices?
Yes.
You got to explain that.
Yes, okay. So I had an opportunity to be on a local station here. Back that time it was WDAL. And I was working with Marcus Allen, but that was his radio name. His real name was Marcus Simmons, out of Springfield, Ohio.
Okay.
And we came together doing comedy. And at that time, I did the character voice was named Davy D, Big Time Agent from New York City. Well, he was a swindler. He was like a big time agent who gets record deals and movie deals with people, but never follows through. So the character voice sounds like this: "It's Davy D there, big time agent there, New York City there, babe, loving it, living up there, and embezzling your money, baby, and I'm just sick about it." So every Friday afternoon, I used to call in, and the phone rings, and he goes, "Oh my God, you know who this is?" And he picks up and says, "Hello, WDAL," and I said, "Hey, Maurice, baby." His name is Marcus. I always say his name wrong. I always get him in trouble. And then when he asks about his money, and I always say, "There's a bad connection on the phone there, babe. I'll call you later." And I hang up the phone, and he always says, "I can't stand that man." And then, you know, every week I'll call back with something different, just to reel him in. And that was a big gag about that, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So, I mean, did you enjoy doing that?
Most definitely. Most definitely. We had a great run from it, and it was great. And, you know, and then later on we moved to, you know, doing other things. And Marco left and went to U92, and, you know, I did some other things and started working in the record business stuff, yes.
Okay, okay. So, how long did you stay with WDAL?
Well, that was a volunteer. I volunteered. I was
Okay.
not a staff employee. I volunteered for them at that time, and Jim Johnson and Michael gave me an opportunity to put that character on. It was really nice.
Oh, okay, okay. So now, when did you start? Do you play instruments or anything?
Yes, I play the drums and the little keyboards, and so when I started in church. I started in Mount Olivet Church of God in Christ over on Euclid.
Okay.
My pastor was Elder Ozell Northern Senior, and I started as a young boy getting to church and in church, you know, watching people play, but we couldn't afford a drum set at the time.
Okay.
So I had to do this. It's a new term coming up called ghetto genius, where I had to get some pie pans, my dad's hat boxes, oatmeal boxes, and make a drum set. And I made my own drum set out of straws, and I took pie pans and put them together as hi-hat cymbals. I got sticks outside, and I wanted to make my own drum set. So that's how I started playing drums.
How did it sound?
like a pipe pen, like a pipe pen.
It didn't sound like drums.
No,
huh?
like a pipe pen in a wooden box. But it was something I wanted to do,
Okay.
and I had to create stuff because we couldn't afford guns. We had to the toy guns and cowboys in, so we had to go out and get sticks and bend them and do things. We was being creative as young kids at the time. Yeah.
Okay, okay, and that's what you need to do. That's what kids need to do nowadays. Be creative
Yes.
and do things. Okay, so now let's talk about. I worked with you on your show.
Yes.
Called the Funk Chronicle.
That's correct.
Okay, and you had a couple of hosts on there.
Yes.
Ryan McLean
Yes,
and
yes.
Stan the Man
yeah,
Brooks.
Then Trent Darby came on, and these guys, and then we had Turk Logan at first, but Turk had to he was sick and he had to vacate the show, and that's when Ryan McLean came in.
Oh, okay.
And Ryan took the bull by the horns and ran with it. One thing I want to say that I really appreciate Ryan stepping in, because no one gets paid. We're all volunteers.
Right.
No one gets paid, and that's the important thing about that. And then we had Stan the Man come in, helps out. He's with the Soul of Dayton. He helped out, and then now we have Trent Darby from one of the hosts of the Dayton Scene Radio Show. Came in and helped me with this project. So I mean, we had a lot of great people coming in, putting support behind the Funk Chronicles.
Okay, now we're mentioning the Funk Chronicles, but could you explain to the people what the Funk Chronicle is? What is it that you do?
Yes, great question, great question. Well, the Funk Chronicles is a series of funk music from stars all over the world. They call in on Skype and they do an interview with the host, and they tell their stories, how funk music meant to them, and how the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center is tied in to the funk music. And they lend their support. They donate artifacts and memorabilia to the museum. They're excited about this, and they want to make sure this show, the Funk Chronicles, is being seen all over the world. So they're helping me promote the Funk Chronicles.
Okay, and when you say these people, can you drop a couple names?
Well, I might forget somebody, but the
Okay.
funk stars that we grew up to listen to from the 60s all the way through the 80s.
Okay.
So I don't want to miss somebody's name.
I understand.
Because, somebody said, well, you forgot to say my name, but you could just imagine funk stars to who you grew up to listen to.
Okay, okay. Now, where can people see or hear your show? Is it on the radio, TV, or
Okay, the
explain
Funk Chronicles. Okay,
yes.
so the Funk Chronicles, you can go to the YouTube channel, your YouTube channel, okay, and punch in the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center. Use the ampersand, it's the and sign, and subscribe to that channel. That's the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, and you can see all the funk stars, all big names who came to visit the Funk Museum downtown.
Okay.
We always people subscribe and hit videos, and then you see what's going on.
Okay, okay. So now, the Funk Chronicle has a museum.
The Funk Center.
The Funk Center has a museum. Now, you were down there on 3rd and Williams?
Yes. Okay, so this is the story.
Okay.
We was never we was in 113 East 3rd Street.
Okay.
Okay, we was never in the Wright Dunbar area.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We always want to bring so people know what's going on.
Exactly.
We was at 113 East 3rd Street.
Okay.
And we was in the Fire Block District. But first, let me go back and give a little history back there. We first had the museum back in 2016, 17. We was in the library, Northwest Library, the old Fairview site.
Okay.
Jane Close brought us in as a community engagement project because we didn't have a home at the time. So we built a big audience from there. It was great. It was great. And from there, Scott Gibson contacted me to come down in the Fire Block District. After we left there, we was there 8 months. We left. We kind of went down there around 2018. We went to the Fire Block District. So we was there about a good year. We had a great time. We had a great audience from all over the world came in and visit us. I mean, it was thousands and thousands of people came in and seen the exhibit. We had about 7,000 or 8,000 square feet at that time.
Okay.
And remember, I used my all ability and knowing how to put a museum together. I said to myself, well, this is going to be a tribute to funk artists all over the world. So what I did was I contacted old museums, old people who had artifacts, people who had cases. So I want to make sure I had everything there because, you know, again, no one gets paid, and I had to use a lot of my own money to fund the project. So once we opened, it was tremendous. We had a grand opening. It was all over the world. People were coming. We had a great turnout. And I want to thank the Metro Library for having the opportunity to host the anniversary and the pre-lum things that we were doing down there, and a lot of the opening acts were coming from Detroit, and they hosted us for us down there at the library. From there, in 2019, new owners came in and bought the building and the Fire Block District. So we had to vacate that building. As a nonprofit, they wanted us to move everything out of the building and then move everything back in. We couldn't do that. It took about a year to set up a museum, you know, get everything right. So at that time, we didn't know what was going on, what was happening. So we was kind of like panicking at the time. But then later, it had to be God for us to move out because the pandemic happened. Then the tornadoes in Trotwood, a lot of things happened. So it had to be God to move us out there because we couldn't afford $3,000 a month rent for a nonprofit. So we had to move out and take it from there. And then from there, we created a funk box experience, a traveling exhibit for funk music lovers, where we went to schools, colleges, churches to teach kids how to play music. That was very, very important for them. And that's where we are. So 2019, we left there and we created the Funk Box Experience, and now we take it all over around America. And because we don't have a brick and mortar right now, we're working on that right now. And we're looking at the old Sears building in Trotwood, Ohio. And the city of Trotwood, is supporting us how we move forward. I hope I answered everything.
Right, and for some people that don't remember Sears even being there, because they were the last building to close up, but it's the old Salem Mall.
Yes, it is. And now the Sears, we just learned recently that Sears is a historical site now. That building is a historical site. And it became,
it's going to be there.
Yes.
So it'd be nice if, you could really do so much with that. And I'm pretty sure you're working on that as we speak.
Diligently, yes.
Okay, that's good. So now, can you name some things that you have in the museum?
Great question.
You don't have to mention names.
Oh,
but
well, I don't. Well, we have a lot of Ohio players. Heatwave, Slave, CeCe Peniston. You know, she's from Dayton, Ohio. Phaso Artifacts, Lakeside Artifacts, so many groups that donated some great things. Marshall Jones's original bass guitar he played, the blonde guitar, was donated to us. I mean, it's tremendous. If you go to our Facebook page and look at some of the pictures, you get the chance to see some of the artifacts that we put on our Facebook page.
Well, that's beautiful. And I have been on your Facebook page.
Well, thank you.
And also on your YouTube page and things like that. So you created some spin-offs from the Funk Chronicle.
Yes.
Now, one of them is a syndicated radio show.
That's correct.
Okay, and that's your brainchild.
Yes. It's called the Dayton Scene Radio Show.
Okay.
What I thought was, I executive produced both of the shows, the Funk Chronicles and the Dayton Scene Radio Show. What I felt at the time, I said, well, you know, everybody has a talk show and everybody's doing something. What about having something about Dayton, Ohio, the Dayton scene? So what we came up with this idea, I called my good friend Trent Darby. I said, Trent, listen, hey man, I want to do this. And he's the guy on board. Then we went through a lot of personnel changes. Nothing bad, but everybody just didn't fit the bill. Then I called my good friend Jasmine Summers, the Super Soul Sister. Jasmine came on board. Then we had a news director that came on board, Catherine Mobley, the good girl. Then later we got Chris Grinrod, our Potomatic producer. He came on board. Then we brought Q in, the comedian, and then from there it just took off. And then we started in Toronto, Canada, on Jackie Vibes Radio.
Okay.
From there, we grew and grew to like 30 affiliates. Now we have 60 affiliates. Now we worldwide.
Okay.
And I tell people you get it on any podcast channel, the Dayton Scene Radio Show. That's the Dayton Scene Radio Show. And we're in local channels here in Dayton, Ohio, different cities, worldwide and international.
Okay. Okay. Now, that's good to know. And for people that are all over the world,
Yes.
they want to listen to your, keep up with what's going on. So now, what kind of segments do you have?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have a couple of segments. We do our email. People email us and ask us questions about music, trivia. We do trivia. We do Black exploitation theater. We go back with the shows back there. Like say it might be an old show back in the day. We get clips and we act it out. So I think it's pretty hilarious. It's called Black Exploitation Theater. Then we do Billboard Magazine Trivia Tidbits. So, we have fun. Then we have a segment called Professor Trent Darby's Sample It. Now, Sample It is how the hip-hop community samples the music of the old.
Okay.
So we have a Sample It question that we do, and the artists, and we have great fun on the show.
Okay. Is it about an hour long, half an
2
hour?
hours. It's a
2
2-hour
hours.
show.
Okay.
A 2-hour
okay.
show.
Okay. So that sounds interesting. Now, what do you do?
I executive produce the show.
Okay, so you're not on the...
I'm on the air. I'm on the
okay.
air, but I sit back and I do the email questions and I have a little segment that I do. But I mean, I sit back and let the talent do the talent.
Do the talent.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So now your shows that you're doing, okay, they're here at the studio, correct?
Yeah, at DATV Studios.
Okay, now are you doing podcast or the video podcast?
We're doing podcasts here.
Okay.
Podcasts here.
Okay. So all your stuff is on the radio.
Yes, no, yeah. What we did was we were at Central State University when we first started. Okay.
Oh.
And
okay.
we at that time we had to leave Central State. We appreciate what the opportunity they gave us, an opportunity to record our show there.
Okay.
So then we came to DATV, and the DATV staff took us under their wing and support what we're doing. And we want to thank everybody at DATV for supporting us, and we're very happy about that.
Okay, well that's great.
And we give them credit at the end of our broadcast.
Broadcast, okay, all right, well that is good. What's in your future as far as the different shows you might be coming up with now?
Right now, the future is getting the FunkCenter up and running.
Okay.
And raising money. We're on a capital campaign right now, and that's important. We want to give back to the community because community is important.
Right.
We're here to educate our public's knowledge in the history of funk music, and that's important to us. It's not about David Webb. It's never been about David Webb. I'm a sincere man who believes in funk music in Dayton, Ohio, the lost art form.
Okay, well we want to definitely keep that, especially here in Dayton or the Gem City, Trotwood, and surrounding areas. But we also need to teach our young people about this music. And it's almost like a lost music if you don't listen to it, because we know hip hop and we know all of those and things like that, but we need to keep, the funk in there.
Yes. I remember growing up in school, we learned how to play instruments. So the FunkCenter and the Dayton Scene Radio Show and different other organizations, we want to make sure we put instruments in the children's hand. Quit bullying each other. Let's bully an instrument and learn how to play an instrument, because when you play an instrument, it stimulates your heart, mind, and body and soul.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you, is there anything else you want to mention? Or?
Yes, I always like to close it out. I always tell people this: Ohio is the heart of it all for funk music, and Dayton, Ohio is the nerve center of funk. Music is harmony. Harmony is music. Harmony is the strength and support of all institutions, especially this funk music, the empowerment of education in your life and minds.
Okay, well that's great. That's beautiful. Okay, well David, I want to thank you for being on my show, Flowers While You're Living.
Thank you for giving us
And
flowers.
the reason why we call it Flowers While You're Living is because we don't want to wait until later on.
Sure.
We want to give you your flowers now, and recognize you and the things that you do, and hopefully,
you know, I know it will be a success, you know, with
Yes.
the museum and
Yes.
all the different shows that
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I want to give you these flowers,
Oh my gosh.
okay?
These are beautiful.
Because, like I say, flowers while you're living. So I want to thank my guests for being here, David Webb, and I want to leave you with something. Pray, don't pray on the problem, pray on the solution. Thank you.
Flowers while you